Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest online learning portal for the preparation of competitive exams. My name is Neelam Malkani, and I'm going to be your educator for CAT and other management exams. After CAT, we started focusing on exams which are going to happen this month, as well as next month, January. So one of these exams is XAT, which is happening in the first week of January. So I had one orientation session for XAT. Yesterday I had decision-making session for XAT, one of the important sections which appears in vocabulary. And in today's session I'm going to focus on critical reasoning. Though you must have prepared for critical reasoning for CAT and other exams as well, but the critical reasoning section or critical reasoning part of XAT is very different from other exams. So you need to get conversant with the kind of questions which appear in XAT, as well as you need to be confident about the approach to solve those questions. So that is what is going to be the agenda for today's session. Before that, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. My name is Neelam Ma'am. I possess around 12 years of experience of test preparation industry and have been training students of CAT, GRE, GMAT, IIMs and TOEFL. My areas of expertise have been English and verbal reasoning. I have also designed the assessment papers of English for the preparation of competitive exams. I did this for examining bodies of India as well as the professional bodies which are administering tests in different states. For a brief period of time, I served as an examiner of English to assess the proficiency of those who were going for an international exam. Recently, I have authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. The book is written in both Hindi and English and is available on Amazon. The video is brought to you by Unacademy, India's largest online learning portal. Let me take you to its portal and tell you step by step how you can be part of this and you can start your preparation for this exam. You have to go in the Play Store of your mobile phone and download Unacademy Learning app. After downloading the app, you will be shown 3 major offerings: plus courses, free courses and special classes. Once you have this app in your mobile phone, you can access free courses and special classes and you can start attending those classes. But if you want to go for CAT preparation and you want to subscribe to Plus, you will have to pay for the product. When you go for the subscription, you will be shown different features that you will be benefiting from after you subscribe to the product. Features such as 30 hours of live sessions every day. So every day you get to see more than 30 hours of live session. So as per your availability and as per your convenient time, you can choose the time of your sessions. You don't have to stick to any schedule, rather you can choose the time of your sessions as per the classes available on the live platform. The classes are delivered by 14 plus top educators of India who possess wealth of experience of guiding, mentoring students in their respective domains. These educators have extensive experience of taking exam themselves so that they can guide those students in a better way. The courses which are delivered by these educators are well structured and well designed, having fine balance of conceptual clarity and exercises and tests so that you are prepared well for your targeted exam. Every month you get to see a new course being launched on an academy platform in order to cater to the needs of a specific exam. So when you are satisfied with all these features, you can go further and subscribe the course. When you go further, you will be shown different models of subscription which have been designed by an academy to suit your needs or suit your plan of the preparation for CAT. If you're going for 1 month and you want to enroll yourself for a crash course, you have to pay 3,500 rupees. But if you are going for yearly subscription, that is, if you are going for 2021 CAT, you will have to pay 17,500 rupees. Now, whichever model you want to go with, if you type referral code Neelam, you will be given 10% for the discount, right? So that's how, by typing this code, your fee will be reduced from 10% with 10% discount, right? So what are you waiting for? Just go download the app, start attending the classes, special classes and free classes, see how these educators are teaching you. If you're satisfied with the way they are teaching or with the level of education they are imparting, go and subscribe to the Plus course. Alright, so that is all about an academy. Let's start with today's session, that is reasoning of XAT. So I had orientation of XAT with you a couple of days ago, in which I told you that the breakup of verbal ability questions. So in 2020 paper, there were 26 questions. Out of that, 4 to 5 questions were based on reasoning. So 4 to 5 questions consistently have been coming from reasoning part. So in 2018, 19, 20, all these papers, this has been the number of reasoning questions. Now, XAT is going to test all varieties of reasoning questions. The conventional ones, which are going to ask you to strengthen the argument, weaken the argument, find the flaw in the argument, find the conclusion, find the inference, find the assumption. So all those varieties which you must have seen in other exam papers as well, or which you must have been taught in your classroom as well. But XAT also tests different set of questions. In one of these years, XAT gave critical reasoning to see which pattern of reasoning is exhibited by the question. Was it an inductive reasoning? Was it a deductive reasoning? And what flaws and fallacies were displayed in those questions? So for these set of questions, you require to know the terminology, the phrases related to reasoning and argumentation. What non sequitur is, what inductive reasoning is, what hasty generalization is. Right? So one of these years, and in a couple of other years as well, these were the set of questions. In order to dig deeper into critical reasoning questions or reasoning part, XAT also asks you to see how two reasonings are similar or dissimilar to each other. So if there is a paragraph given, you will have to find out if the same pattern of reasoning is exhibited in other paragraph or not. So one task is to identify which pattern of reasoning is there in that paragraph, and then similar pattern of reasoning is to be there in the answer. So this level of complexity you will encounter in the reasoning questions of XAT. That is very hard to find in any other exams. So for that, you will have to base your practice on previous year papers of XAT, because this variety of question or these kinds of question you are not going to find in any other exams. So starting from 2007, 8 or from whichever year you have these papers available, you start practicing on those papers only. You start practicing those papers so that you are clearly aware of the kind of style of reasoning questions that XAT is going to give you. Alright? So as I have been saying that to understand XAT or to understand what XAT is going to give you, you have to solve previous year papers of XAT. Second, now these questions become all the more important because they are easier than reading comprehension. It's a short paragraph, usually a paragraph of 100 words followed by 1 or 2 questions. So less information to observe or less idea to assimilate. Hence, the job of finding answer or the task of finding answer is easier than it is in RC, because in RC you have to read a longer piece of text and then you have to read in a lot of information. Same time you have to answer 3 to 4 questions based on those passages. So these questions are easier to do and easier to find your answers as well. I would highly advise that if your reasoning is okay and if you're through with the concepts of reasoning, you should not miss these questions. Because ultimately, the cutoff is going to be low. XAT is a low cutoff exam. So 8 and 9 questions will help you clear your cutoff for verbal ability. That means out of those 10 questions that you are going to pick up, if you are good at reasoning, you are definitely going to pick up these 4 or 5 questions. And if you are maintaining your accuracy level, your chances of getting these questions correct is higher, right? So that way, this set of questions can actually help you clear your cutoff. Second, now if you see the breakup of question as well as the time allocation for entire paper, for 75 questions you will be given 165 minutes. We are anticipating the same pattern that we saw in 2020. So if same pattern is given this year as well, you will be given more than 2 minutes each question. 2 minutes for critical reasoning question is more than sufficient. If you are through with the concept and if you have done adequate practice of previous year papers, 2 minutes is more than sufficient for critical reasoning question. Alright, so as I have been saying, that if you are not clear or well versed with the concept of critical reasoning, go through CR Bible, which is available on internet. See all the patterns of reasoning, solve enough questions on each pattern of reasoning, and then start solving previous year papers of XAT. Alright? Critical reasoning is also going to help you immensely in reading comprehension. Because in reading comprehension of XAT, you will find questions infused with critical reasoning concepts. In RC as well, the author is going to, or examiner is going to give you a question which might ask you to strengthen author's argument or weaken author's argument, or which might ask you to infer what author wants to say. So that is nothing but critical reasoning. So critical reasoning will definitely help you in critical reasoning, but will also have a huge bearing on reading comprehension. So this is one area which is very hard to ignore. As I did decision making yesterday, I told you a lot of areas, a lot of questions will be solved with the help of critical reasoning only. Because you have to refrain from coloring your opinion from your biases, from your prejudice, or from your own opinion. Your decision has to be strictly based on data, facts and figures. So for that, you have to think critically. So for decision making section as well, critical reasoning is very, very important. Alright? So needless to say, this is one of the prominent section which is going to help you clearing different sections. So let's start with critical reasoning questions of previous year papers of XAT. And with that only, I would try to explain to you some of the concepts. I'm assuming that you all are through with the basic concepts of critical reasoning. So this is more of a practice session. Alright. So I'm live today. So if you're watching the session and if you have any doubt or if you have any question regarding the question that I'm going to discuss, you can put up that question in the comment box. I'll read it and possibly then and there only I'll try to address it. Right. So assuming that you are through, I'm starting the practice for critical reasoning questions of that. Now I'll give you 30 seconds to read the paragraph and then we are going to discuss the question. Okay. In Hume's time, productive labor was the greatest asset of a country, and foreign trade was valuable because it enabled a nation to use more and more varied labor than would otherwise be possible. So this is what we have understood so far. In Hume's eyes, as per Hume, productive labor सबसे बड़ा asset था एक country के लिए, and foreign trade was also valuable क्योंकि उसकी वजह से एक नेशन को जो है ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा वेरीड लेबर यूज़ करने को मिलती थी, जो अदर केसेस में पॉसिबल नहीं होता था, क्योंकि फॉरेन ट्रेड हो रहा है, तो डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ लेबर यूज़ की जा रही है कंट्री में. बट कॉमर्स वॉज ऑफ म्यूचुअल एडवांटेज ऑफ द नेशंस इन्वॉल्व्ड, नॉट अ बेनिफिट टू वन एंड इंजरी टू अदर. सो कॉमर्स जब भी होता है तो दोनों कंट्रीज जो है वो बेनिफिट होती हैं. Riches, increase of riches and commerce in any one nation, Hume said, instead of hurting, commonly promotes the riches and commerce of all its neighbors. So जब एक कंट्री के riches यानी उसकी wealth बढ़ती है और commerce बढ़ता है, so वो दूसरी कंट्री को hurt नहीं करता है, rather it commonly promotes दूसरी कंट्री के भी wealth को बढ़ाता है, यानी neighboring countries के wealth को भी बढ़ाता है, क्योंकि foreign trade हो रहा है, यानी सारी neighboring country आपस में trade कर रही है. The emulation मतलब उस चीज़ को follow करना in rival nations serves to keep industry alive in all of them. So जो emulate करती है एक country दूसरे को, या follow country है एक country दूसरे को, उसकी वजह से सभी countries में industry alive होती है, यानी industry flourish करती है या industry thrive करती है. ठीक है. So इस पैराग्राफ से हमें ये समझ में आया कि ह्यूम जो है, ह्यूम की नज़र में या ह्यूम की ओपिनियन में लेबर, प्रोडक्टिव लेबर और फॉरेन ट्रेड के बहुत फ़ायदे हैं. एक कंट्री का फ़ायदा होता है तो दूसरी कंट्री का भी फ़ायदा होता है. इंडस्ट्री अलाइव रहती है, वेरीड लेबर यूज़ करने को मिलती है एक कंट्री को. राइट. नाउ लेट्स अप्रोच द क्वेश्चन. द इम्पॉर्टेंस ऑफ फॉरेन ट्रेड इन आइज ऑफ ह्यूमन वॉज ड्यू टू दैट. क्यों इम्पॉर्टेंट है ह्यूम की आइज में? सो वी हैव अंडरस्टूड द क्वेश्चन. लेट्स अप्रोच द ऑप्शन. It allowed the employment of surplus labor in a nation. Right? So I hope it's eliminated outrightly because no their surplus labor has been discussed. It allowed the diversion of labor to export-oriented industries. Nowhere it said कि labor जो है अलग इंडस्ट्री में है और फॉरेन ट्रेड की वजह से जो वो लेबर है बाकी ट्रेड से या बाकी जगहों से उसको एक्सपोर्ट में लगाया जाता है. आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट. It allowed the deeper specialization of the same labor force. Deeper specialization यानी जो labor है generalistic थी या general उनकी skills थी. Because of foreign trade उनकी deeper specialization होगी. Nowhere it's stated in the paragraph. It allowed varied application of labor force in a nation. It allowed application of varied labor force in a nation. Now this is how the word author or the examiner has played with the words, just to confuse you. Now D says varied application of labor force. So labor force is same, but the application is different. So labor is same, but the labor is being applied in a different sector. E says it allowed application of varied labor, different kinds of labor. Now if you want to go back to the paragraph in order to verify what your answer is, go in the third line and see what author meant. Because it enabled a nation to use more and more varied labor, different labor, right? Not the different application of labor. So different labor, answer is E, right? So you see, so the perception or the aura around XAT is the questions are very, very tough. The questions are difficult to read. Sometimes they pick up the subject which are very difficult to understand. Philosophy or something related to abstruse science, sociology, and the terminologies of the verbiage put up in that paragraph are difficult to understand. So with that, they try to increase the complexity. But the options are very easy to read and understand as long as you are clear with the content, or you are clear with the intent of the paragraph of the author. So here, since we understood it very clearly, eliminating 3 options was very easy for us. Then D and E, you can go back to the part which confuses you and then you can verify your answer. Alright? One more question based on this paragraph only. As per you, free trade between nations was made advantageous by the outcome of. Now the question is dealing with the last part of this paragraph. He says, instead of hurting commonly, it promotes the riches and commerce of all its neighbors. सभी neighbors जो है आपस में free trade, foreign trade की वजह से wealthy हो जाते हैं. The emulation in rival nations serve to keep industry alive in all of them. Because one country is following other country, industry is alive, industry is developing or progressing in all of them. Now, look at the options. Mutual increases in riches and commerce, that is not the reason, right? That is the outcome, right? Emulation of industrial activity by different nations. So possibly this is the reason which is actually leading to the riches of all countries. So the reason, the cause is this. Let's see What C option says. A fabled promotion of industrial activity among nations. Nowhere it is stated. One country is following another country. Emulation is to follow, imitate. So one country is imitating the style of other country, and that is why it is also becoming wealthy. Productive employment of labor in different nations. That is not the reason why he feels that it is advantageous. Look at the question. Be guided by the question. Higher wages received by labor in exporting nations. No, answer is emulation of industrial activity by different nations. Even you did not have to infer it. It was clearly, categorically stated in the paragraph. One country is following other country, and examiner actually did not even change the word. Emulation, emulation. Right? So industrial activity is emulated, hence it is being advantageous by other countries. It is becoming advantageous for other countries as well, especially the neighboring countries. All right. So reading, investing time in your paragraph, understanding it clearly, decoding the message to the last word is going to help you enormously in solving the questions. You will not have an iota of doubt while solving your questions if you're through with the paragraph. Let's look at one more question. I'll give you again 20 seconds to read it. Okay, I'll read it out for you. The yoga system is divided into two principal parts, Hatha Yoga, Raj Yoga. Hatha Yoga deals principally with the psychological part of man with a view to establishing his health and train his will. So, यहाँ पे हमें दो पार्ट बताए गए हैं, योगा को दो पार्ट में डिवाइड किया, हठ एंड राज योगा. हठ योगा प्रिंसिपली किससे ये डील कर रहा है? Psychological part of man with a view to establishing his health and train his willpower. The process prescribed to arrive at this end, the Hatha Yoga, are so difficult that only a few resolute souls go through all the stages of its practice. ये इतना टफ है प्रोसेस हठ योगा का कि few resolute souls, बहुत ही पक्के इरादे वाले इस पूरी स्टेजेस को पार करते हैं इसको प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए. Many have failed and some have died in the attempt. बहुत सारे लोग फेल हुए हैं, कुछ एक्चुअली मृत्यु भी हो गई है. It is therefore strongly denounced by all the philosophers. इसलिए हठ योगा की प्रैक्टिस को सभी philosophers ने denounce किया, criticize किया. The most illustrious Shankaracharya has remarked in his treatise that the system of Hatha Yoga was intended for those whose worldly desires are not pacified or uprooted. सभी फिलोसोफर ने इसको डिनाउंस किया है. शंकराचार्य ने अपनी ट्रीटी में ये बोला है कि जो हठ योगा का जो सिस्टम है ये सिर्फ उन्हीं के लिए है जिनकी वर्ल्डली डिजायर्स पैसिफाइड नहीं हुई है, शांत नहीं हुई है या अपरूटेड नहीं हुई है या फिर उनको खत्म नहीं किया गया. ये सिर्फ उन्हीं के लिए है. राइट. सो शंकराचार्य ने ये बोला है हठ योगा के लिए. सो दैट इज व्हाट वी हैव बीन टोल्ड. आई होप द मैसेज इज क्लियर. लेट अप्रोच द क्वेश्चन. व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इफ ट्रू most substantially strengthens the idea given in the passage. Now we have understood the idea, what Shankaracharya says about Hatha Yoga and what author says about Hatha Yoga, that it's very difficult to perform, it's very difficult to practice. The percentage of people in a given ashram practicing Raj Yoga is more than the percentage of people practicing Hatha Yoga. Now how many people practice Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga has not been stated. Which of these practices of yoga is more popular and which is more practiced by people is not stated. Now don't come to this conclusion or don't assume this thing just because it is tough, so it is followed by, practiced by few number of people. You have not been told anything about this in the paragraph. Alright? What you have been told is Hatha Yoga is tough, Raj Yoga. Hatha Yoga is tough. What you have been told is about Hatha Yoga. So you cannot come to this conclusion that Hatha Yoga is tough. That is why people who practice Raj Yoga would be more in number. A is not the answer. B. The number of people in given ashram practicing Raj Yoga is more than the number of people practicing Hatha Yoga. A is talking about percentage, B is talking about number. It does not make any difference. Nothing has been stated about Raja Yoga. So as B is incorrect, so is B. As A is incorrect, so is B, because it's actually restating the intent of the A. See, the number of Raj Yoga schools teaching Raj Yoga is more than the number of schools teaching Hatha Yoga. Again, A and B are talking about those people who are practicing yoga. C is talking about those schools which are teaching yoga. Again, out of context, not relevant. The number of teachers. So C was talking about number of yoga schools. D is talking about number of teachers. Again, irrelevant, not out of context. Look at E now. The percentage of students who have successfully learned Raj Yoga is more than the percentage of students who have successfully learned Hatha Yoga. Now this can be based on the paragraph, because paragraph clearly said many have failed and some have died in the attempt, and it is therefore strongly denounced by all the philosophers. Alright, so this gives us the reason to believe that the percentage of those people or students who have successfully learned Raj Yoga must be more than the percentage of students who have learned Hatha Yoga successfully, because of the complexity and because of the toughness of learning Hatha Yoga. Right? So do not assume anything unless it is explicitly stated by the paragraph or in the paragraph. Right? One more question based on this paragraph only. Which of the following option best reflects Shankaracharya's comment on Hatha Yoga? So we have understood his comment. It is only for those whose worldly desires are not pacified or not uprooted. Hatha Yoga is for those whose worldly desires are not placated. So it is actually saying the same thing, are not pacified, are not placated. So same word, synonymous. Let's hold it. It's rephrase of the same statement. Hatha Yoga has disastrous consequence for yoga practitioners. He did not mean that, right? Practiced under the guidance of experts, Hatha Yoga is better than Raj Yoga. For some people, he did not say anything about Raj Yoga in his comment. D. Raja Yoga gives better result and in shortened time period for most people, and therefore it should be encouraged. Again, same point, he did not say anything about Raja Yoga, Shankaracharya. Hatha Yoga is ill-suited for people with strong worldly desires. Now, he said it is only for those people whose worldly desires are not pacified. He did not say who it is ill-suited for. Right? That is why E is also not the answer. Answer is A, which is clearly the paraphrase statement of what he said. He said in the paragraph, the system of Hatha Yoga was intended for those whose worldly desires are not pacified or not uprooted. Alright? So that way answer is A. Alright? One more question to read for 20 seconds and then I'll explain it to you. Alright. Since power is itself a value, forms of influence which include power in their scope are usually themselves forms of power. So as I said, this will be very convoluted or densely written. Now try to decode this. Power अपने आप में एक value है, एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो जिसको value किया जाता है. Forms of influence which include power in their scope are usually themselves forms of power. So power and influence. Somebody has power, somebody has influence. He is not holding a position, but he is influential. So forms of influence which include power in their scope are usually forms of power. तो अगर आप किसी पे influence